Isn't it about time that Yuji got a power-up? Out of all of the characters in the series that has had a power-up, whether it be through having a broadening realization of their cursed energy or just straight hacks, I feel as though our main character Yuji is the one who's going to need a power-up the most right now in the story. And in this video, I will be explaining why that is, as well as two definite ways Yuji could push himself to the next level as a Jujutsu sorcerer. Now, before I dive into some of those reasons, I first want to get into how strong Yuji currently is and why that isn't enough. First of all, we know that at this point in the story that Yuji was scaled somewhere in the high first grade area due to not only, let's just say, his strengthened body by Kenjaku, but also his high level of cursed energy manipulation. We also know that for some unexplained reason, Yuji seems to be able to pull off the Black Flash a lot more consistently than every other character in the series. But besides that, because we know Yuji doesn't have any inherited curse technique, hand-to-hand combat is pretty much the only thing Yuji could fall back to on this point. And I'm not trying to say Yuji's weak by any means. In fact, I would actually scale him a little bit above Mahito, but I guess what I'm trying to say is Yuji isn't really versatile enough as a sorcerer to be on the same playing field as like the high tier sorcerers. We actually already see this in chapter 215 of the manga. Yuji and Maki goes against Sukuna, and while Maki and Sukuna are having hand-to-hand combat, Yuji goes in to help and Sukuna just goes, "You really are so boring," to Yuji. And even later on in the chapter when Yorame freezes both Yuji and Maki, Sukuna doesn't really care about Yuji. He says it was just a good idea to freeze Maki. So yeah, there are a lot more examples I can give you that happens in the series where Yuji is pretty much just not useful. And it's not really his fault, it's just something that I think I have to point out, because pretty much every enemy Yuji's gonna face going forward in the story is gonna have some form of domain expansion of crazy curse technique. And while we know Yuji can hold his own in a fight, I mean, let's just be honest here, Yuji versus Sukuna in a fight and he's packed up, he's out of there. Now the reason I'm saying this isn't to dunk on Yuji at all, it's just to show you guys that if Yuji wants to make himself helpful in taking down Sukuna and Kenjaku, he's going to need a lot more than what he currently has. And like I said earlier in the video, there are two ways that I think Yuji could do just that. Now, the first thing is something I know that we've all probably thought of before. It's just Yuji gaining an inherited curse technique from Sukuna or maybe Kenjaku. And while we know Yuji doesn't have any inherited curse technique, like I said earlier in the video, that doesn't necessarily mean that Yuji will never be able to use curse techniques. You see, in chapter 12, Gojo says you're unable to use it now. In due time, your body will learn Sukuna's curse technique. So although it really hasn't happened yet, at this point I'm guessing it's just a matter of time before Yuji inherits his technique. And I don't know if this is exactly related to Yuji getting Sukuna's technique, but in chapter 215, there is a moment where Sukuna looks at his finger and his finger has a little cut on it. Now, like I said, I don't know if this is related to Yuji getting a technique or if it was just something relating to Sukuna taking over Megumi's body. I'm not really sure, but I just thought I'd mention that it is a possibility. Now, the second technique that we can see Yuji inherit is the anti-gravity system that Kenjaku currently has. And really the only reason that I really mention this one, because it's actually really unlikely that he get this one. So the anti-gravity system actually belonged to his mother, Itadori Kiori, and I personally just found this technique more fitting for Yuji. It's not really likely that he'll get it though, but again, I'm just mentioning it because it's, you know, it's sort of a possibility. Honestly, the way I look at it, it doesn't really matter which technique he gets because he really could use either of them. Nonetheless though, there is one last thing that I want to touch on about Yuji, and that is him possibly getting reverse curse technique. At this point in the series, unless your name is Maki or Takaba, you pretty much need to be able to use some form of reverse curse technique. So yeah, if you were to ask me, these are the three ways that I see Yuji getting to the next level. But yeah, that's all for the video. I just wanted to have a little discussion with the community on whether or not Yuji should be getting a power up and what it should be. I am going to start rolling out longer content for you guys. It's just at the moment I'm just getting over this little cold or whatever, so I'm not really recording longer videos. Anyway though guys, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and if you like JJ content like this, maybe subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think about Yuji getting the power up or not, and I will see you guys in the review. Peace.